Everyone, and welcome back to the Rovers Report, where I'm one happy Gashead after Saturday's result. Firstly, I just wanted to say a massive thanks for all the kind messages I got on my first video. It really meant a lot to me, and I'm really looking forward to making some more content for you guys. Today's video is a bit of a longer one. It's with a good friend of mine, Tom, but he offers some really good insight, and I hope that I do too. So if you do enjoy it, a share will be lovely. And yeah, enjoy the video. Hello and welcome back to the Rovers Report, where today we are joined by fellow Gashead Tom to discuss Rovers' massive victory on Saturday. For me, that was probably Rovers' most important win of the season. I don't know what you think, Tom, but I think that was huge, mate.
Yeah, I completely agree, mate. We were always going to have to revert to Northampton's style of play. Obviously, we all saw they were very physical and obviously effective at doing that. But they're also, well, third in the league, and they were second before the game yesterday. They were in that league position for a reason. And it's quite clear now that obviously with automatic promotion as a possibility, that was arguably, I think it is the biggest win in the season. And we really did stamp our authority on the league. I know it's still incredibly tight at the top, but that win really pushed us forwards. And yeah, it's all looking good going into Carlisle on Saturday.
Certainly is, mate. And I think Carlisle is up there with us, aren't they, on the form table?
In the form, I think if we do the last 10, we're top in the form table, and Carlisle are second.
Okay, yeah.
So it's going to be a tasty fixture on Saturday. I know we're without Elliot Anderson, who's on international duty with Scotland under 21s, but Nico should be fit by then. So I think maybe he should be replacing Anderson, in my opinion. But yeah, it's going to be a good fixture. I think Carlisle, obviously they've been doing really well. I'm not sure about the home away split for them, but it should be a good game. It brings back memories. We played them away back in the 15-16 promotion season. I remember taking the train up with Harry Holder, who we both know. That was a very long trip, and ultimately I think we lost 2-1 or 3-2 on the day. And it was actually pretty much a similar time of the year as well. I think it was Easter Monday. But obviously that at the end of that season was successful. So maybe we'll see history repeat itself, mate.
Hopefully, mate. And I think that's the thing is, with this Rovers team, I am confident, because you think of Carlisle and you go, that's obviously going to be a difficult place to go, isn't it? But yeah, in many respects, it's a similar fixture to this Northampton one. It's a hard place to go. I can't comment on the style of play that Carlisle tried to impose, but it was the point I was saying to you off camera is Rovers have showed with that win against Northampton that we can mix it various styles of play. I know Joey likes to try and play a nice flowing attacking style of play, but Saturday was all about fronting up, being physical, and we showed that we can do that, not just against teams lower down, but teams who have got to the top of this league by playing that style of football. So I think that's really encouraging going into Saturday.
I think it is, exactly. And like the only teams that can sort of only play one style are City and Liverpool. Everybody else kind of has to mix it up depending on who the opposition are. And as you said, we've had to mix it. Typically, we love to play what I would say was attractive football, but you do have to mix it against the physical teams. I know Jerry called Northampton what was it?
So it was a rugby
team, which was a bit fast.
That was a bit harsh, I thought.
I think it's a bit facile to say that. But they were, as I said, they're obviously good at doing that sort of playing with that style, and they were second in the league for a reason. And they did threaten it a couple of times. They hit the bar twice. Bailey had to make a really good save in the 40th minute with a volley that looked like it was going top bin. So I think, yeah, I completely agree. The fact that we sort of got our heads down and sort of got stuck in, and I think it would be unfair to say that our midfielders couldn't do that, but it's nice to see Evans, for example, really, he was involved in quite a few 50-50s, winning those. I think he would admit that he probably didn't have his best game in terms of, his passings and, running with the ball. We all know his capabilities with that, and he's shown enough of that this season. But I think it's encouraging that we can go to teams like Northampton and get a result And as I haven't watched Carlisle this season, I know we played them earlier on at the Mem. I don't remember the game too well, but I think we shouldn't fear anybody in this league at the moment. There's obviously a reason for that. We're top of the form table. We've lost 2 games since the turn of the year. So it's really pleasing to see us being able to win in style and sometimes without as much style too.
Yeah, definitely, mate. I think that's what you said there is exactly how I'm feeling at the moment. Is when I get that notification, we're 1-0 up.
Yeah.
And years gone by, you go, oh yeah, well, how long will that last? But now it's sort of, you feel confident, don't you?
I haven't felt as confident with a team. I mean, to be honest, it wouldn't be too long ago. I actually felt really confident with the Coughlin team when we were, the season which was halted by the pandemic and ultimately curtailed, the 2019-20 season. There, I think towards Christmas when we had that really good form going and we were 4th after beating Ipswich away, and obviously that was division above. I had a lot of confidence in that team, but in terms of an overall run, this run of form has gone on for a longer period of time than that run of form. So it's probably since the Darrell Clark days that I haven't had as much confidence in the team as I do at this moment in time, and it's not just in 1 or 2 players. Even back then we had a good spine, and by that I mean locks at the back with Macca. And then we had Matt, yeah, absolute legend. I wonder what he's doing. He must still be playing. I think he's still over in Northern Ireland as far as I'm.
Yeah, that's what I'd imagine he's doing.
And then we had obviously Manson, Lindsay, Sinks, and then Bowden, Taylor, and Gaffney, and obviously some very talented other players too.
And you can see similarities with this squad, can't you? Do you think, I think Belshaw personally has been absolutely outstanding, hasn't he? And
yeah.
I think it's underplayed how important that connection between the keeper and the fans is. I know it's a romantic view, but so much of the passion that he shows in front of the fans, it gets you going, doesn't it? Especially for the new young fans coming into the ground. I remember when I was younger and Mildenhall, even like a small thing, he'd turn around and fist bump. And as a young fan, you're like, this is what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think you can over romanticize it. It's something I think keepers always have sort of some special status, but Belly completely deserves it. He's kept, I think that's 14 clean sheets now this season. And to think that Harrogate sort of let him go rather easily, it's
mad, isn't it?
It's mad. And I know Joey Barton said to their manager the other week when we beat them, was saying, he was asking, why did you let him go? So yeah, it's it's amazing how well he's done, and some of the saves he's pulled off. I think he pulls off a blinding save at least one every match. I was at the Orient game in person a few weeks ago, and we were 2-0 up and dominating the game, and then they brought on big Harry Smith, number 9, and there was a crossing from left. It was going bottom corner, Smith head, and Belly somehow managed to palm it away. So yeah, I think he deserves all the plaudits, and that as I said, you can't really exaggerate that connection with the fans that a keeper has. We've been lucky to have a few keepers over the years that have had a special connection with fans. Definitely. I know Steve Phillips used to play for City, but that's certainly from when I started watching. Steve Phillips was the first, and then you obviously had Mikael Anderson on loan. You're told not to fall in love with a lone player. I think we all did with Mikael Anderson in the 2009-10 season.
Absolutely.
And Belly, as I said, he's been absolutely fantastic this season.
And like we said, he's integral to that core spine of our team. And I know there's another man that you want to have a particular word on, is Paul Coots, who at the start of the season, I think it's fair to say, I saw him in quite a few games and was dubious, was sort of thinking, everyone's saying that he glues teams together, but he was making quite a few mistakes. And you couldn't really, for me, see that leadership role where he was organising. And now I think it's started to come into, I can see that now, can't you? And
it is,
you say anything about him?
Yeah, of course. It's definitely coming to fruition. And I completely agree. He had a very slow start to his career at Rovers. He's had a very, for a lower league player, he's had a very successful career. I think he had the double promotion with Sheffield. He was promoted with Peterborough. That might even have been a double promotion too, about around 10 years ago. So, he had some sort of pedigree as a very good defensive midfielder. And you could see at the beginning of the season, he had the right idea of how to play, but it wasn't coming to fruition at all. But I think he is instrumental to our team. I don't think you can overstate that at all. And you see that, I think, in every game at the moment. And the fact that I know Glenn Whelan's 38 at the moment, but he's keeping him out of the team effectively. Or I know they can play side by side too. And I've been really impressed with Wheelo as well. But I think Coots at the moment, he's not over expansive, but I think he knows what he has to do when he gets the ball. He knows. I think that's the same with Evo and Finley as well. The three of them, each of them knows what they're going to do.
They complement each other really well as well, don't they?
And Coots is the one starting many of the attacks. He's picking the ball up from the centre half. He's playing in triangles with Finley and maybe one of the wingers, or same with Evans. So I think he very much had as you said, a slow start to his career, but he's been one of our better players since the turn of the year. And I don't think we can overstate the role that a defensive midfielder, sort of your linchpin, can play. And he's doing a great job at the moment. And I feel like we're starting to see the Paul Coots that Sheffield fans, I think fell in love with a few years ago, and the Paul Coots that has been a successful lower league player. I don't want to do him disservice by calling him just a lower league player. He's played in the Championship too.
Yeah.
So I think he's been very impressive, and I think a lot of people started to realise what he brings to the table too.
I tell you what, mate, though, it is mad because you look around at teams, and before this I was thinking, like, who should we have certain segments on? Because everyone's doing so well. And I went back and looked at do you remember the last season, in the COVID season, when we played Northampton away in that relegation? I think it was 1-0, wasn't it? Yeah. And I looked at the team there, and no discredit to some of the players. I think our midfield was Westbrook, Pablo Martinez, and McCormack. The difference in the quality of player now is unreal. And like, you can look around our whole team, and there's not really a weak spot, is there? And you just think, like, the players that we used to have now, you have to give credit to Barton. He said he would build a squad that is strong and fit and quick. And you look around and you think they all are. They would tick every single one of those boxes, don't they?
Yeah, definitely. I think at the beginning of the season, I felt like we had a squad of journeymen. But I think now, I completely agree. We seem to, and also we have strength in depth. We're keeping a player of Luke Thomas's quality. I remember when he was running rings around me in the academy days back in the day.
Did you play against him?
I think I did once. We played Cheltenham. I think he's your year.
Yeah.
I think I was playing a year above them, but he ran rings around us that day. He had trials with Benfica when he was younger, and Derby signed him for a lot of money for a reason. He's a talented player. I know it hasn't worked out well for him, but he's played Championship, League One football for the majority of his career.
You can see it, can't you? When he's on form and he comes on for Rovers, he's just got that little bit extra.
Yeah, he's got that little something, and it's a shame that we haven't seen enough of it this season. But to keep a player of his caliber on the bench shows, how well Elliot Anderson, Nico, and Harry Anderson are doing. Rhino's been he's been very impressive last 10 games. That's another player in terms of strength in depth. We've got players who can play across midfield. As Harry Anderson, he started off playing right back. I think a lot of fans realised after 10 games that he was more of a winger, but he's played all over the park, and it would be a disservice calling him a utility player, because he does more than just, and he's more than adequate in a number of those positions.
And I'll tell you what, that the finish on Saturday, that is not an easy finish at all.
It's not an easy finish at all. Like if if you've played football for a while, you know, like being in that position one-on-one on his, it's on his left foot effectively. He's actually
he's opened up, hasn't he?
Taking it. He's opened up and taking it on his right. And it was it was against Crawley when he slotted it through the keeper's legs a couple of weeks ago.
Similar position, isn't it?
Similar position. And, this guy isn't a striker. The striker would be very proud of those two finishes.
Absolutely.
And he's very cool, calm and collected. And, that's just one of the many facets of his play. He's incredibly hardworking, great in the challenge, really good on the ball and deceptively quick. This guy is one of the most complete players in our team, and you can see that he was one of the more instrumental players in Lincoln's playoff push last season in League One when they were knocked out by Sunderland in the playoff semis. And I was surprised that we signed him because I thought he would have gone to another League One club. But I think Rhino's been outstanding recently.
I think he's sort of the epitome of a Joey Barton player, isn't he? When you hear Barton speak about, especially during pre-season, he was going on about the fitness of his players, and he's had some funny comments recently about how he walks into the dressing room and it's like something out of Men's Health. But there is some truth in that, isn't it? They all look in fantastic nick, especially the Rhino looks like he looks physically big, doesn't he? And imposing.
Yeah, he does.
But like you said, he's quick as well. He's got every sort of attribute that you want from that position that he's playing in.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's quite easy to. I mean, the average footballer in League Two is fit compared to most people, and so I think it's quite easy to state that your team's fit enough to play for a season across League Two, but that's not good enough. We saw that in the Darrell Clark days, and used to see the pre-season pictures of the players, doing laps around training grounds and hard working. You need an incredibly fit team to be successful in lower leagues and in the Premier League too. And I think we're seeing that now. I obviously can't. I don't think they do running stats or they don't release the running stats for League Two, but I'm sure we'd be up there in terms of average. Some of the yards that Rhino puts in, for example, it's probably running about 12k a game.
It's class, isn't it, mate? And we'll get on to our running later, but and it's springing it upon you a bit, but I'm just trying to think if there were any concerns about this team, which is a great position to be in, because I was looking at it and thinking, I can't really see many. The only thing that I can think of, just off the top of my head, is that our centre-back pairings and obviously Luca Hall, they wouldn't have been in this position before. And I don't think they're showing any signs of like losing composure, but we do forget they're only 20, 20 and 19. And say it comes to like a playoff semi-final and a final, their lack of experience. This is just, I'm clutching at straws almost, because at the minute there doesn't seem to be a weakness. But could you think of anything that you look at this squad and think maybe that could be our undoing?
Yeah, I think so. I think our defence does have a lack of experience, and perhaps it's almost like a clean slate when it comes to the playoffs. If we do end up in the playoffs, which is obviously looking likely at least. So that could be a factor. I also think lack of firepower up front, apart from Collins. I think
if he's Leon Clark performing,
exactly, he's on absolute fire at the moment, and also he brings so much more to the team than just goals. If he gets injured or maybe doesn't
loses a bit of form.
Yeah, even if he loses a little bit of form, Leon Clark obviously has had a very good career in the lower leagues, but he's been injured quite a bit, and coming back into the fold after being injured, it's always quite tough. I know he scored against Scunny, and that was great, but it's that's a slight concern for me because we've got Loft, who hasn't settled in at all. We haven't really seen. I don't think we've seen the best of Ryan Loft, but at the same time, yeah, it's slightly worrying if Collins were to get injured. I don't know what we'd do then, whether we'd play Clark or Loft instead, or maybe play somebody as a false nine.
I think that might be what they'd go to, is chucking Evans up top, because do you remember he trialled around with that for a little bit and we were doing quite well actually.
Yeah, and Nico, everybody's saying that Nico isn't having a great season compared to last year. Obviously, last year he was playing a different position. He was playing it as like a just off the striker. You know, and yeah, I think Nico could have scored more goals this season, but he's still been one of the main contributors. And
definitely that Newport one for me, a lot of people had a go at him for that finish. If you've played football, you know that is the only thing he could do there was try that chip.
Yeah,
I mean, the keeper was blocking him off completely, and he couldn't have like manoeuvred it around. Granted, he maybe should have scored the chip, but that was the correct decision.
Yeah, it was.
That was harsh.
And it was like more in the spotlight because we lost that day. Like, I think everybody knows that Nico's what he contributes in terms of running with the ball and pace, and you know his delivery is good when he gets to the byline. So I think it's unfair to have said that he's had I think maybe compared to last season, maybe he hasn't performed as well, but he's still been, I think, one of the better performers. I think everybody, as we said so many times so far, you know, most of the team have performed incredibly well this season. I mean, that's why we're joint third. So, you know, he's one of many players that we have in attack who can play pretty much across the front line, get to the byline, cross, take a man on. You know, I think he's actually been a very good signing since we brought him in from the US. And he's one of the, you know, he and Evo are out of contract. I'm sure this will be a topic that we'll cover towards the end of the season is, you know, retain list and everything. But, you know, I'd want to be giving Nico another contract.
Yeah, 100%, mate. And just before we wrap this up, I've got the fixtures in front of me here, and I'll just do the next 3 games. You're going to Carlisle, aren't you, on Saturday?
I am, yeah. I'm taking the train from London. So thankfully, it's only 4.5 hours instead of 6.
Only, not so bad.
Not so bad.
What's your prediction for this game?
I think the way we're going, we just need to focus on playing our game, and I think it won't be as physical as the Northampton game. We should be able to try and impose ourselves on the game, and the way we're going, I think we should be expecting to win. And there's no other, you know, we should be looking to win most games towards the end of the season. So I think a victory by 1 goal difference, because we're away from home, we may. I'd be confident in keeping a clean sheet. I think maybe a 1-0 Rovers victory.
That is the thing, isn't it? It's sort of flown under the radar a bit. I think we've got something like, was it like 10 clean sheets or something in the last 14 or something? Maybe not that, but there's been a lot of clean sheets lately.
Yeah, and it's credit to Belly and also to the back 4. I mean, Luca Hall, for example, has been absolutely outstanding. And Taylor, you know, I mean, Luca Hall only really has played more since the turn of the year. Taylor has, you know, been fantastic all season. Connolly's done really well since he's come in. I think he had a couple of shaky games to start with, but he's really settled down and really composed, cool, calm and collected centre half. And you've got big Nick Anderton, who, you know, is very combative, but also actually very good on the ball. Like, I think he's a lot of people don't give him credit for his technical skills, because you know, he probably comes across as being slightly more sort of old-fashioned left back when he can go on that old marauding run and actually get something from it.
So which games for you scare me the most? Because I'm looking at it now, I'm looking at Bradford home. Looks to me, that seems like a routine victory. And I know there's never, in this league, it's never that way. And then you've got Tranmere away, which that would be tricky.
That would be a tricky game, because I think we're level on points with them, aren't we? But better goal difference. So they're one place below us. So yeah, I think Tranmere away is going to be tough. We haven't actually played too many games at Prenton Park in the last few years. I think did we play them last season? Were they League One last
I
season?
was there at the last one, which was can't remember if it was last season or one before, but it was a horrible 0-0 on a Tuesday night. I think Clark Harris missed a sitter in the last minute.
Yeah.
It was not a fun journey back, mate.
But, it must have been pretty rare back then.
Yeah. But I think for me, this is where the season will be won or lost in terms of us going up. I think out of 8 games to go, I think 4 wins, 2 draws would do you playoffs. And I think that's easily doable, but it's Carlisle away, Tranmere away, Port Vale away, and Rochdale away. I think if we can win...
Port Vale away as well. They're Port Vale away.
Exactly, they're right up there.
They're right up there. They have 2 games in hand over the playoff pack.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're 4 points. They're 4 points behind us, I'm pretty sure. So which means that they're only 3 points behind the other playoff pack. So, they're certainly, I think, the team to watch. And that game is, going to be incredibly important, I think. They're also really in form at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be a toughie. I think those two, I wouldn't fear FGR at the moment, especially at the Mem.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? At the Mem, it's a completely different game.
Yeah, and our home form has been, brilliant. So, away form has been really good recently as well. But I think I know FGR top of the league. They've had a brilliant season. I know they've really faltered as of late, but I wouldn't, even if they won, 5 in a row and was sitting top of the league. Even if we were to play them at home, a few weeks ago, I still wouldn't have feared them.
Yeah, exactly, mate.
And it's I know we've got Scunny at home on last game season. Who do we have between FGR and then?
We've got Salford at home, and then that's it, I believe, mate. That's Salford at home, Port Vale, Rochdale, Scunny. So Rochdale,
that's going away to a place like Rochdale. It's always the smaller teams and it's almost like you kind of fear them a little bit more because.
I think this is what our brain's been conditioned for following Rovers for so many years. Yeah. Whereas now I look at it and I kind of still do feel like that, but then part of me is like, well, look at what we're doing. Like we should, and that's why I'm so confident. I honestly think we are going to go and win 6 out of these 8 games, and I think we're going to get automatics.
But that would be That would be automatics. Yeah. I think we certainly should have confidence. Going for that. There's no reason. We've won we obviously lost to Newport. I think it's that stat, isn't it? Over the last 18 games since Christmas or the New Year, we've won 12, drawn 4, lost 2.
Yeah.
So, and played some good teams in there. So we shouldn't be fearing anybody. And automatics are definitely on the cards. Mm. I just hate getting slightly optimistic about Rovers.
Yeah, it's not what we're used to, is it? Mate?
We've been taught so many lessons over years. Like the prime example is the conference season when we were I think on Boxing Day we were beating Wimbledon at home, AFC Wimbledon at home in Ghana's first game, and we were second in the live table.
Mental.
And then we ended that season. We were 14th before COVID hit.
We would have gone down, wouldn't we? I imagine
we might even be mired in a relegation battle towards the end of that season. The way we were going. So one or two poor results can really rock the season. So I think there's no reason to rule out automatics. We're obviously joint third for a reason. We've been on an absolutely amazing run of form, and I think we should be hoping for automatics. I just don't want to jinx it. No, you could do it. You could do it ahead of me, mate.
I absolutely agree, mate. And I think that's been excellent, mate. Some really good insight there. I'm going to push you for Carlisle. I want a score prediction, and if we are scoring, I want you to name the scorer.
I think it's going to be 1-0. And it's going to be Collins. He's going to be back on the score sheet.
Collins. Okay, I'm going to go.
I wouldn't put money on that just because I have an awful record when it comes to betting. But That's my prediction at the moment.
Okay, mate. I think. No, I'm going to go 3-0, and I think it'll be one for Collins, one for the Rhino, and one for Big Connor Taylor at the back.
Is it going to be from a corner?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely.
Because Barton's been on his back. Because he thinks he hasn't been scoring. Well, he should have scored a lot more. He scored that goal against Walsall, didn't he? In that away victory.
I was there for that, mate. That was scenes.
I can imagine. Yeah, he wins. Obviously, he wins a lot at the back. I was looking at the stats earlier. He wins about 5 aerial duels a game, which is like almost 1 or 2 more than anybody else. So there's no reason to think why you can't win the same aerial duels just in the opposition penalty box. It's almost like psychologically the fact that you're in the opposition penalty area and you could score almost like you become less successful.
That's what I'm hoping for, mate. Is he'll basically, I can say to him, imagine you're clearing the ball and he'll get me the goal on Saturday.
Yeah,
and that'll be perfect.
You can stick money on that.
No, mate. No, gamble. It's been a pleasure, though, Tom. Thank you so much for coming on, mate.
Thank you, mate.
And Tom will definitely be coming back on this channel, so I look forward to having you back on, mate. Thank you.
Right. Cheers.